everyone always talks about the rat race of employment.
Yeah.
There is a hamster wheel of entrepreneurship. And if you're not careful, you'll just be running and going absolutely nowhere, but you're making yourself more and more and more tired.
At the end of the day, a decision has to be made, and it has to be made by you.
Thanks. Boss babe. I know you got your pink suit and stuff, your taxes are due.
I'm showing up every single day. Sometimes there's no audience.
Right.
But you still have to perform as though this is a sellout show.
Yeah.
Because you don't, heaven forbid you get to a point where it's like you've got a sold out show, but you haven't rehearsed.
Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Renee, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about women in entrepreneurship.
Ooh.
Self-employment. Being a better leader in the workplace, business, shiny, when you should consider taking the plunge, and what do you do in freefall?
Nice.
These intros, they're quite succulent. They're quite tasty. They're juicy. It's giving me seasoned Sunday roast.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Quite nice. I like it.
But before we hop into all of that great stuff, we got to go for the starters. You know what I'm saying? Cheeky little, I need to leave this accent alone. It's followed us into the next episode. And we're going to start with a what? Ding, ding, ding.
Dilemma.
I know that's right. Okay. Hey,
sorry. I'm actually very cognitive of the fact that we look like we're dressed for two different seasons of the year. Hold on, let me see. Where are you guys?
Where are you going?
I am in Antarctica. She is.
I am in the Barbados.
No, I am in the Barbados.
Wow, we actually really do look like we're. My God.
I'm screaming. Sorry to have cut you.
That's all good. Hey, sisters.
Hello.
Love your podcast so much because it helps me reevaluate my life and actually take action to be better.
Oh, I like that.
So sweet.
So kind.
So sweet. Your little sugar.
What an honor.
So my dilemma is that I'm not at the point where I want to be a better person mentally, physically, and spiritually. With me wanting this, I've noticed I'm not so close to my siblings, and honestly, I feel that I could treat them better instead of repeating the treatment I experienced from my parents. However, I tend to blame myself when I see them act a certain way, which may not be positive. I feel that they are only that way because of how I wasn't the best sibling to them, and now I feel like I have to parent them and start homeschooling them since they are not in school because of the pandemic, make routines for them, teach them skills like cooking or cleaning up, get their sleep routine in order, love them more, because what kind of older sister doesn't do that? But I feel so overwhelmed because on the other hand, I'm trying to learn how to make myself the main character of my life because I tend to place other people's needs before mine. This situation causes a war in my mind because I want to do all these things for my siblings, but I feel that I want to focus on my life and the only thing I can do is love them and play with them as I don't have the capacity to do it all. So now the question I have is, am I trying to do too much or am I just not being a good older sister?
This is very interesting. My only question is, where are your parents?
Throughout the entire thing, I was like,
where are your parents?
Where your mama? Where your mama?
Yeah, I think, okay, wanting to be a better sibling, that's one thing. But being a better sibling or being a good sibling is not synonymous with parentification or parenting your siblings. Parentification is actually not good for you. And especially with you on this journey of becoming the main character or more so just becoming a better person, you don't need those false responsibilities and false burdens that you really don't need to carry. What you should do is show up as a better sibling, and that takes the form of, yes, being supportive, but you're not their primary caregiver. And so you need to also make sure that your parents are giving them that which they need. Now, it may be a case of, you live in a household where your siblings may not be receiving that primary care from your parents and you're trying to make up for that. It's going to be difficult for you to be on a journey of becoming a better person and also stepping into this dysfunctional role, right? As we were talking about in the eldest daughter episode. Yeah. Have a conversation with your parents or just have a conversation with yourself and realize, okay, I don't need to do all of this. I don't need to be getting them a good bedtime routine and cooking for them and teaching them how to cook. But can I be present with them and have bonding time with them where I'm not teaching them these things, but I am also participating in their learning of these things and giving them quality time and speaking their love language to them and making sure that I can assist in any way, but they are also not my children. And I think these are all truths you have to accept. And yes, I'm not saying, you know, your siblings are drowning and you're not going to help them. Of course not. Sometimes you do have to do the dysfunctional thing because that's all that's there, you know? However, try and avoid it as much as possible. And so take time, breathe. I don't think you're doing too little. Well, I don't know what you're doing now.
Yeah.
I think your desire to want to be a better sibling, a more present sibling is great.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have to be manifest through parenting your siblings. Absolutely not. That's dangerous.
That's very dangerous.
Yeah.
I literally would say the exact same thing. I was just like, throughout the dilemma, I was like, sis, where your parents at?
Big question.
And I think it's difficult when you're the eldest because your natural instinct is to not want your younger siblings to experience what you have experienced. And in order to do that, it means you feel as though you need to stand in the gap.
Yeah.
But you weren't made to stand in the gap.
Whew.
Because when you do stand in the gap, many of us stand in the gap thinking that we are making up for or closing up any of the holes that we have in our family's fabric. You're actually not standing in the gap or closing up any holes. You're just replacing. There's a hole that will crop up where they needed an elder sister, but you gave them a mother. Or there's a hole that's cropping up in your life where you actually needed a younger sibling, but you got a kid. So understanding that you don't necessarily have to make up for these things. It's actually not your responsibility to make up for lack of parenting. It can be hard because it means that it feels almost like you're a bystander to your siblings' pain and trauma, but then you're doing the double work and the double effort of trying to be a sibling and a mother. And that's not what you were created for in this world. You can't be a mother if you haven't got any kids. Do you get? Like, you need to unshackle yourself from false responsibility and be the best older sibling that you can be, but you cannot be their mother. No matter how much you try. And maybe, as Courtney said, there will be times where you have to do the dysfunctional thing. But if you make that consistent with your role as elder sibling, then the confusion and the way that that relationship continues to run is going to be dysfunctional. And in order to uproot dysfunction, you have to do the bold and scary thing of saying, actually, no, I'm not going to repeat this cycle. I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to fight dysfunction with dysfunction. I'm going to try and be healthy here. And that might actually end up being the best way to help your siblings because they understand that whilst they haven't had necessarily a positive, parental experience, at least they have a positive relationship with you and they understand what that looks like. And it's
So
not muddied with this whole false narrative around you being proxy for their mother. So I think it's really important to set those boundaries. And I think there's so many things that you want to pursue in your life. You've literally stated that it feels almost as though this is a burden insofar as you have to pick between being their sibling and doing what you want with your life. That is the kind of decision that parents make, and you're not a parent, where you're thinking about, your kids and what, your kids may want and the best, thing for your kid, but you're not a parent.
That's it.
So really understanding that and allowing yourself the privilege and the honor of actually being able to decide what you want to do with your life is important. Because you will end up resenting them. Even though you think that this is the best thing for them, you will end up resenting them because you've had to take the position of a mother at a stage that you actually didn't actively bargain for it.
So good.
So I don't think it's not necessary. I don't think it's a question of whether you are a good older sister or not. I think first you need to divorce yourself from this whole complex of trying to fulfill being mother and father to your younger siblings. And then it's a thing of, okay, how can I be a better sister? As opposed to be feeling like you're being guilt tripped into being somebody else's parent. But yeah, like even some of the stuff that you were saying, like cooking and cleaning and getting their sleep routine in order, maybe teach them to be more independent. You don't have to cook for them. You don't have to clean. Exactly. Depending on the age, you don't have to cook for them. You don't have to clean for them. You don't necessarily, even in terms of sleep routine, teach them how to be more independent. That's more, I guess, it's still kind of parenting, but at least it allows you to have more agency and more freedom, right? So even finding ways that you can healthily transition more into being an older sister is really important. So don't think that you can make up for any like lost intimacy between you and your siblings by being their parent.
So true.
And girl, go live your life.
Please.
Like, actually live your life, because
you.
life is short and you don't want to be resenting your siblings. And your siblings will end up resenting you too. Facts. Because how many times, even thinking about like my own siblings, right? Going through that process of parentification, yeah? And like trying hard not to parent them.
Yeah.
Because that distorts the dynamic and they end up resenting you as their parent as opposed to as their sibling. And that's a very, very difficult cross to bear.
So good.
So yeah, girl. Live your life. Try to set those boundaries as well, and really focus on ensuring that you are a better sister, but not a better parent, because you're not a parent.
There you
don't
go.
have children.
There you go. I love that.
Yeah.
That was good.
But yeah, sisters, if you do have anything that you'd like to, if you can relate, definitely drop it like a sort in the comments below. And we've definitely had conversations about this in some of our prior episodes. Yep. So I'm sure that you'll definitely resonate with our episode on being an eldest daughter. So go check that out. That's available on the YouTubes, on the Apples, on the Spotifys, on the platforms. So yeah, make sure to go and check those out.
Yeah.
But moving into the main topic of conversation.
Let's go.
Female entrepreneurship.
The female boss.
You know what's funny? I even have a tattoo here. So I feel like it's given to Lisa. It's given to Lisa and Dubs. Wow. But entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Miss Entrepreneur en Residence.
Not the French.
Yo, you know that time that I must have said like 3 or 4 French words? Somebody commented and was like, oh, Renee's accent was so good. I said, yeah. bonjour, baby, to the world.
See you play. On Apple TV.
Omelette, baby. Now they're going to be like, yeah, we exiting. Then we exiting. Better leave that French alone. Okay. Why should women consider getting into entrepreneurship, self-employment? What would you say are the key benefits of being an entrepreneur?
Oh, man. Honestly, obviously, both of us are entrepreneurs. Both of us have worked on business projects, business stuff. I've been self-employed now for like 3 years. And I will definitely say one of the biggest benefits that I have identified is independence. Independence is great. And I think it's not that kind of toxic independence, but rather it's more so being able to challenge yourself to have to show up, being able to have the freedom. I'll say more so freedom, have the freedom to create what you are passionate about, have the ability to also control your income and really soar as best as you can. And it's not to say you cannot experience this level of freedom or independence within a traditional career and employment. However, I think self-employment puts you in that mindset of go and get it. You have to hustle, right? I think entrepreneurship births something in your character.
Yeah.
Right. And it pushes your character. It pushes your capacity. It also opens up, in my opinion, your imagination as to what is possible for yourself, for your life, but also for your career, for your business. Because you're focusing fully on this thing that you're really passionate about and kind of giving birth to it. I think why should women consider entrepreneurship? It's not just a boys' game. Whilst there's a lot of lack of representation of women in business, I think the growing amount of women in business and boss babe communities and people actually walking in entrepreneurship who are achieving amazing things, it's so encouraging to think if you have an idea, do not let your gender hold you back from your belief that you can make it happen, right? And I think a lot of work is also being done, hopefully, to make sure that these environments are like VC environments and stuff are inclusive of women. More work definitely needs to be done. And I think TMS is definitely going to be a part of that work. However, there are so many women and there is so much room in the spaces of entrepreneurship or in whatever domain you're trying to find yourself in that you need to take up, sis. And you shouldn't shy away from taking up that space because of your race, your gender, your ability, whatever it may be. And so why should women consider entrepreneurship / self-employment? I also think in the economy that we're living in, I think relying on one source of income, like your main source of earned income, is stupid. I think it's stupid because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. There is no guarantee that it'll work out just because it's a job, you know? So people often associate risk with entrepreneurship, but there's also risk in career. There's risk in everything. So I think being able to, even if you're going to be having a side hustle, which I'm a big advocate of, we are big advocates of, at least having something that allows you to have another stream of income. And I think the main way that manifests is through a degree of self-employment, right? Or freelancing or something like that, being entrepreneurial. Challenge yourself to explore that part of yourself if you think it's something that's within you. I love the challenge that entrepreneurship presents to us as people. And I also think the ability to create, if we've identified that some of the issues that exist within certain fields of work, technology, STEM, all these different things, if we identify that there is a big representation issue, especially when it comes to gender, the best people to address those issues, or who will always have those issues first in their mind, is, for example, another woman, right? So when you create a business, when you create an organization, you also create opportunities for other people who have been denied access in other spaces. Do you get what I mean? And so I think that's one thing about entrepreneurship as a woman, why we should all consider it, sis. Because, well, not all of us are made for it. That's another conversation for another day. But the people who are thinking of exploring it, you're going to be able to create opportunities for so many people, including other women, right? Sharing money, sharing wealth, creating opportunities for other people to flourish in their talent, and also being able to give back to community and to initiatives which you consider to be important to you. Becoming an entrepreneur allows you to do those things, right? So why not?
I love that.
Yeah. How about yourself? What do you think?
I love that. I think similar to you, managing my own time and like my freedom and stuff, choosing the flexible working.
It's great.
It's great. It means that I can fit my work to work around me as opposed to working around work. That concept has always been just so mad to me. And I've done it, and probably, you know, there will be times where I will do it, but it's just like, oh man, I want to be able to do this in the morning and then work. I want to be able to work and then do this. And it's like the flexibility that entrepreneurship can give you is so freeing. It means you can just engage in so much more. You can do things you enjoy. While simultaneously doing something that you enjoy at work too, because like part of the whole entrepreneurial journey is you get to pick, you know, what industry, you get to pick what work you do. So yeah, definitely the freedom. Managing my time has been sweet. It's been hard, but it's been sweet. When you get into the rhythm, you start to learn so much more about yourself. And I think that is the second key benefit for me, the learning curve. Ain't nothing will teach you like entrepreneurship.
100%.
Ain't nothing.
100. And nothing's going to bring the true resilience out of you like entrepreneurship, I think. I love that you mentioned that, being able to have your work around you, because I think entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur has really changed my mentality around work. Like having that, I think I've mentioned it so many times on the podcast, but having this philosophy for my life and this kind of mission statement, I only work on things I want to work on. And I think that's only come out of me reframing my idea about work, purpose, business, all of that, and realizing actually I can do that. Like I can work on only things that I care about and kind of get to a place where I'm not just working because I think this is the traditional thing to do. You have to be in a job that you may dislike or that you don't fully like. I actually get to create an environment that I fully like, you know, and that's not to say it's without challenge, but it is to say that's something that I want to enjoy. And that's something I found a way to create through entrepreneurship. So highly recommend. 10 out of 10. I love
it. So is there such a thing as the perfect time to become an entrepreneur?
Yes.
Elaborate.
Okay.
Give us some more.
I would have said no before. I would have been like, no, throw yourself into it. However,
go on.
However, I think depending on the sort of background you're from, you actually have to see, if you throw yourself into this, is there going to be a parachute? Is there going to be something to be able to catch you? And the reality is, for a lot of us, we don't have that. And I think we have to be very conscious of that reality, right? For people who come from low socioeconomic backgrounds, for people who are quite often excluded and underrepresented in entrepreneurship spaces, VC spaces, things like that, places where you need investment, getting grants, all of that. If you're unrepresented in those areas and the industries that you're trying to go in hasn't made room for you, it can actually be a bad time to enter into that market, because the market is quite hostile towards you. And I think that and also it's a big risk, right? Business entrepreneurship is a risk that you're about to take. You actually need to weigh out those risks. You need to weigh out the pros and cons, and you need to make what we always talk about, a calculated decision, right? You need to make the calculations. What are the potential outcomes here? Let me look at the potential possibilities of what could happen. Am I willing to take this risk? You know, are the odds actually in my favor? Some people say, you know, F the odds. I think that's fine. I think that there's a daring nature to be able to be forget the odds. However, I think there is a certain privilege sometimes that can come into play for people who say, forget the odds, I'm just going for it. Because the reality of the consequences of it failing are different for everybody, right? And this isn't to say be limited by your background at all. I didn't come from a very privileged background. We don't come from very privileged backgrounds where there's a lot of money and wealth and trust funds and all of that. We don't have that. And yet at 21, I decided to go head first into entrepreneurship. However, what I did have was certain things that could be considered privileges. I was able to live at home rent free. I still live at home rent free. So those things for me played a part into, is there a safety net, right? Like one of the previous dilemmas that we had, I know if I take this risk, I'll always have a roof over my head. I'll always have food in my mouth, right? If you know that, then actually that is the perfect time. My plan B is quite good, you know, and I think that that's a good thing to think about. You need to have a plan A, B, C, D, E. And that's not to say you're not going to commit yourself to one plan, but it is to say things don't always go right. Let's just be honest. Things don't always go right. And so really have yourself a good plan. That's the perfect time. And it's not about all conditions being great. It really is about, am I willing to take this risk now? Because if I take this risk now, I need to be able and willing to put my all into making this work. So you need to really pay attention to, do I have enough capacity to do this? What is the sacrifices needed? Do I need more funding? Do I need to save more? Do I need more time? What is it that I need in order to set myself up best, right? No one is pushing you into entrepreneurship. You throw yourself into it. So really, you get to determine when is the perfect time for me. However, I do think a lot of us latch onto this idea of perfection and kind of, this isn't right, so it's not the right time. That isn't right, so it's not the right time. I think it's more so about the odds, right? 99 to 1 is really good odds, but there's still that one thing, right? So if you're going to look at and wait for it to be 100, it will never be 100 in the space of entrepreneurship, in the space of investing. And you're investing. Entrepreneurship is an investment.
Literally.
There will never be perfect odds. 100% never has any interest on it. Do you get what I mean?
I like that. I really
everything
like that.
has risk. And so if you're trying to grow exponentially, you have to look at the odds. And the odds of your life are unique to you. You may have responsibilities, right? For example, if you just got a mortgage a month ago, you might not want to throw yourself into entrepreneurship. Not just yet. Do you get what I mean? Or if you are a caregiver to somebody, you may want to weigh out, if I suddenly jump into entrepreneurship and then do not make the same level of income I have, what happens to the people I provide care for? You know, what happens to my children's childcare? What happens to my parents' medical costs? You know, you have to really pay attention to your life's circumstances and whether the choice that you are making allows for you to continue to do the same things you used to do, or are you ready to give up some of the things you're currently doing, which for some of us may be the case. So I don't think there is ever a perfect time. However, I do think that there is a perfect time, and you decide when it is.
Okay.
It's individual. I can't dictate to you, this is the perfect time to jump into entrepreneurship. It's really down to you.
Making a smart decision.
Smart.
No, I really, really do love that. And I think also, having the opportunity to test where you can, because I think we often feel that entrepreneurship is it's all or nothing. It's do or die. I have to quit my job tomorrow and I'm in it.
You can test the waters.
You can, pick up a side hustle or something that's like relatively adjacent.
Yeah.
Or like you can test and prove whatever it is that you actually want to do first and then transition.
Facts.
And I think I mentioned this in like our last episode or one of our former episodes, but it's all about picking your heart. Sometimes it will be difficult to juggle whatever you're doing currently with side hustles, right? Sometimes it will be difficult for you to quit your job and jump straight in. So it's written, boy. Then bills have to pay. But it's really about picking your heart and really identifying, okay, cool. As you said, what are my life circumstances saying? Am I comfortable with what they're saying enough that this makes sense for me?
Yeah.
And try not to be disheartened or led to believe otherwise by things that you see. Sometimes, like, listen, we all love the whole narrative of like, I went by faith. I jumped straight in. It's like, did you really? Were you looking for an excuse to leave your job?
That's a good point. And you've got to be honest with yourself as well. Like, just keep it real, keep it a buck. No reason is too small or too big. Just be honest with yourself and your personal choices, whilst other people may not make them, whilst we may not make them. If it makes sense to you, you're the one who's dealing with the consequences and the brunt of the work. So no one else's opinion really matters.
It's so funny because I think sometimes it's crazy that we forget that we have to bear the brunt of the consequences of decisions we make. And that's with anything. But when it comes to your career, when it comes to thinking about being a business owner or getting into entrepreneurship or having a side hustle, the decisions that you make, those are yours. And I think even like moving into that mindset when you do enter entrepreneurship is important because if you are someone that has worked like full time or been in school or you're trying to make that transition, understanding that like no one is going to come and make this decision for you is very important.
Facts.
It's very important. Facts. We can't make the decision for you, and you listening in or reading all of these books about timing and time management and, philosophy. At the end of the day, a decision has to be made, and it has to be made by you.
Facts.
But we're not afraid of that. We might be nervous, but we're not afraid.
Yeah. I think another element on the perfect timing thing as well. There's the internal, which we've been speaking about.
Yeah.
Your world, what's happening. But also look at the world and the external.
The market.
In terms of perfect timing, it might not be the perfect timing for what it is you're trying to do. Because what you're trying to do, the market. Look at the market.
Yeah.
Is the market going to receive what it is that you are trying to create, right? Because the worst thing to do is create a business out of season, out of sync with the market. And it's not to say you can be ahead of the curve. In fact, you should be ahead of the curve, but also realize that you're watching out for a wave so you can ride it. So you need to be on the watch. Do you get what I mean? You really need to be studying the market and seeing, does my business actually make sense for this context and this where I am right now? Does my business actually make sense for now? Where am I trying to sell? Because, for example, you may have the most amazing idea for winter jackets. You've got the amazing design. You live in Jamaica. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So then you need to decide, is now the perfect time, or should I wait till I move to somewhere where they have winter?
Not you bringing a puffer jacket to Kingston.
To the market. It doesn't make sense. But do you get what I mean? You may have an amazing idea, but you need to think, is this a perfect fit? Is this a good fit? Or do I need to also integrate into my plans a strategy to educate people or to show people that they actually do have a need for what it is I'm bringing to the market, right? Not everyone is primed for what it is you're trying to bring. And so things may not land the way you want them to because people aren't primed for it. People don't know about it. And you're trying to do something really innovative, or you're trying to do something that's a bit outdated. You're trying to maybe start an accounting firm, right? But with things like QuickBooks and Xero, like all these things, you need to be ahead of the curve.
Exactly.
What's going to be your competitive edge and your unique selling point compared to these cheaper digital alternatives? It's not to say your accounting firm won't be successful. It's that you have to think about these things. And until you've thought about these things, it might not be the perfect time. So there really is intra factors, I guess, your world, what's happening in your world, and then what's happening in the world. And you need to really consider two of those. Those two things, rather.
For sure. And do your research.
Please.
Do your
market research.
Because I think it's so tempting. Like when I'm ready to be an entrepreneur,
the
but
zeal.
is the world ready for you?
The zeal. You have all this zeal. Baby girl, the world is grey. Everyone's tired and everyone's broke. People are not going to... The thing is, people are broken at the same time they're not. They'll give money to the things that they receive and believe to be valuable, right? Until you are actually ready to really realize that your excitement and passion is not the value of the product. Do you get what I mean? Yes, you're excited about your business, but that's very much so about you. The world is thinking about them. So no one cares about your life story. No one cares. Whilst it may make a good aspect of the marketing, unless the product is good, unless the product actually fits, unless you are actually adding value through the product to other people's life, people are not going to part with their cash. They're not going to part with their time. They'll listen to your story. That's cute. Or they'll just skip and move on.
Just about.
And you'll have your feelings hurt.
I know, and it's so sad.
Sorry, your little feelings were crushed. But this ain't a lemonade stand. People got to be thirsty.
This is the thing. It's the mentality shift is really, really important. You've got to come hard with these things. And speaking about coming hard, what would you say are some of the lowlights of being self-employed, entrepreneur, boss babe?
There are things to do with your paycheck that you may not know. No, but there are elements to do with your paycheck that you don't feel the brunt of too tough, right? Because you're used to them. When you're self-employed, however, the taxes that they are coming to you for, because before they're going to the head of the company, they're going to the accounts department, they're going to HR. You're right. But no, now HMRC are sending letters to your door saying, hey ho, sweetie,
have you seen that meme that's like, knock, I'm at your door,
boss babe, I know you got your pink suit and stuff, your taxes are due.
Not the pastel pink suit.
Your taxes are due. Yep. I know you got CEO in your bio, self-assessment. You got to fill it.
That's the thing. When you start doing entrepreneurship, people don't realize that it's not just CEO that you are. You're also CFO. You're also CMO. You're also head of marketing.
And you're also accountable for a legal entity. And that's what, because that's what, well, for people who have registered their business.
Then stop it.
If you haven't registered, this segment of the podcast,
it's not relevant for you.
You should go to That's Why You're Dating a Criminal episode. So, because
you are the criminal.
But rather, no. You don't have to register in the UK if you are earning less than £12,000, £12,500, the personal allowance. But you should if you are making close to that or above. But anyway, the low lights are those big payments, right? Because corporation tax is one thing. And then you've got your income tax if you pay yourself on payroll. And then you've got self-assessment if you do, your little self-employed calculations and you've made any extra money. They're like, we want some of that too. National insurance, student finance, you're in charge of all of that. That is now your responsibility. Before your company would handle it. And it's, you would see the numbers on your paycheck, but all you know is I take home this much. But now you have to factor into your business's accounts and your business's budget, the fact that at the end of the year or at the end of every quarter, they're coming to take a considerable amount of money from you, right? This is the first year that I put myself on salary. I have paid so much in taxes. And it's like, we can talk about the tax system another day. It's painful. It hurts because you're looking at your business account and it's not that you don't know the tax is going to be taken away, because obviously I don't make my gross income. I reserve some, I make net. However, you see that money in your business account and you think, I could do this campaign, I can buy this new equipment, I can do X, Y, Z. No, that's for the tax man. You can't touch that money. And you're feeling the weight now of that. There are ways to get around that. You should talk to an accountant. But also the reality that literally all the not just tax, but all the expenses also fall on your head to manage, right? Especially when you're working in a small team and you haven't got a CFO, you haven't got a head of accounts and stuff like that. You may have an accountant, but they're still looking to you for what are the decisions you're making for your business's finance. And so realizing that paying a team it's money. Like money management. And I think people rarely talk about the fact that money is very stressful.
Yeah.
Money, not having enough of it. And oftentimes in the beginning of what I felt often in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey was I don't have enough money. It's never enough. Even when I'm making £6,000-7,000 a month, it's not enough, because there's so many demands. There's inventory, there's space, there's all these overhead costs. And if you do not do your calculations right, you will always be struggling. Right. And I think that that's one of the lowest points for me, was like, I'm working so hard and I never have anything to prove. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to show of it. Nothing can prove it, because I don't have savings. All of my money is going into this business. It really is a bucket with holes. And like, unless I really do the work to really study out where these holes are. Yeah. But also sometimes the holes aren't even caused by me. Yeah. Sometimes it's just the fact that that's the nature of the game. That's why people get investors. That's why people get loans, because it's very hard to start something off the ground just with you. Not to say it's impossible. Loads of people have done it, but it's hard.
It's hard.
In order to do that, you need a model that works. And works, tried and tested works. Numbers that have been calculated down to zero. Like, you need to know all your margins on everything. And if one wholesale thing crops up 1p or 1 cent, you need to recalculate that entire model, or you'll be in loss automatically. And I think constantly having that in the back of your mind can actually be quite stressful. And I think another thing is you're juggling so much. In the first couple of years, one thing that I'm upset about, everything else had to be put on the back burner. Yeah. My relationships, my well-being, all of it was put on the back burner, because I just didn't know what to do. And so everything just became, I am my business is me. If my business is failing, I'm failing. If my business is going to be successful, I need to put myself to work, right? It wasn't about creating effective systems. It was kind of, everyone always talks about the rat race of employment. Yeah. There is a hamster wheel of entrepreneurship. And if you're not careful, you'll just be running and going absolutely nowhere, but you're making yourself more and more and more tired. So those were some lowlights for me. How about yourself?
Wow. Very similar lowlights, actually. Definitely the whole tax situation. I was just like, excuse-moi.
They don't start when they come and send you them letters.
Taking my money like this. I don't get it. It was really interesting for me, because a lot of my like entrepreneurial journey I did in addition to like full-time working. So the slice of tax that is taken when you're already in employment, or you have some kind of like relatively stable income, is quite large. And just accounting for it and having to budget for it, even when you are, for example, charging clients, or when you're thinking about like, creating products, it's like, okay, cool. This is like the value attributed, but then at the same time, I have to account for the fact that I might be having to take 20% or 30% off just for tax on that particular payment. Yeah. So getting really like particular, specific, anal about it, and saying, okay, cool. Like, how do I adjust my own finances? How do I like set myself up such that this makes sense? And as you were saying, you need to make sure that you account for every single penny. You have to make sure your invoices are actually like set up. You need to make sure that you actually have a business bank account, because some of you guys do not separate your stuff from your personal account, and you really should. So I definitely resonate insofar as the administrative stuff can be so long, like to the point where weekly I just have some admin hours, or like admin day, where you have to reconcile accounts. You have to look at invoicing. You have to look at all of that kind of stuff. And I think also the one-man band, as you were saying, it's long. Like, it's cool and it's independent, but sometimes you could really do with the help, and it's long. And I also think that sometimes it can be a little bit lonely if you're not like plugged into like entrepreneurial communities or anything like that, because you're working by yourself for the predominant amount of time. You are a lone ranger. Fam, it's tight out in these streets, and like people, there's very few people that get it. And it's like, when you do come across entrepreneurs, they are dealing with their own struggles. Legit. And it's like, even them being able to provide support is capped, because they're at capacity. They're at capacity.
Honestly,
the only thing that they can do is hold hands with you as you both enter the fire, because you're both going to get burned.
I think another thing is the failures hit harder.
Bruh.
You take them so personally.
Take them personal.
So personally. Like, if your business makes a loss or the sales don't come in like you thought they would, it can push you over the edge. Serious depression.
I'm on the edge. It's not of glory.
It's not of glory.
Boy.
Because you're so invested. You're not just invested financially.
Yeah.
Your identity is in this. This is your child. Forget even being your child, this is a reflection of you.
Yeah.
If this fails, if something doesn't do well, as minuscule as it may seem, even like an email from a customer saying, I didn't like what I received.
Boy, all of a sudden you will not
You'll
sleep.
start crying. You're not sleeping. You're literally, your whole world is shattered. And you're here thinking, am I a failure? Mm-hmm. Whereas if your company that you work for, okay, we didn't meet our projected sale this quarter.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's sad. We'll work harder next time. But there's a next time, right? But oftentimes when you fail in business, your immediate response is there going to be money for me next week?
The consequences are steep. You're paying.
Steep.
You're paying.
And you're not sharing that pressure with anyone.
Yeah.
If you're a solo entrepreneur, like you're not sharing that with anyone. All of that is coming down on your head. If the company is in hot water, you're the one who's got to put out the fire. It's you. And oftentimes being pulled in all those different directions and then you fail. Ooh.
Entrepreneurs cry a lot. They cry. If they don't cry, they shout.
Do you know how many days I spent just in my room? My room is messy as hell. Like, so messy because I haven't had time to clean it. There's no personal time. Everything is work.
Yeah.
And I'm just in my bed just crying tears. Like, when you're looking up at the ceiling and like just tears are just
they're coming down
into your ears. Into your ears. That was me. Like, at least once a week. Because it's like, this is not working.
Yeah.
But then it is working. And that's the thing about entrepreneurship. Really high highs, really low lows.
Oh, the lows. The lows are rock bottom.
You've hit the... Honestly. And when you thought you've hit the bottom, they will show you actually...
New depths of hell.
New depths.
It's like a
flipping depths of pain.
Flipping museum that you didn't know there's an extra room down there. Oh, yeah.
But that's the thing. I think it's because the climb is a lot.
Yeah.
Like to gain that momentum in the beginning takes so much work.
For sure.
But once you get to that, I'm cruising, you're cruising for real.
It's enjoyable.
It's
very nice seeing the money into your account.
Enjoyable.
But also the impact that you have as well, right?
Yeah.
Like this whole, like when you are working in business or entrepreneurial projects that do help people in a way, it's nice to know that you've actually...
It's working.
Yeah. You've had impact.
Yeah.
That's
the reward
nice.
is great. The reward is really great.
That is nice. Well, thinking about some of the lowlights,
yeah.
this year in particular, 2021, what do you wish you knew about entrepreneurship?
Ooh.
At the beginning in January the 1st.
What do I wish I knew about entrepreneurship on January the 1st? That you don't have to feel guilty for resting.
I like that.
However, I also wish I don't know how to word this, but I wish somebody had told me entrepreneurship and the successes that come with it is going to happen in phases. Everything is not riding on this year.
Yeah.
Everything is not riding on this week, right? So your failures don't determine or don't mean that everything is over.
Yeah.
And your successes don't also mean you should become complacent, right? You're going to have to keep going and going. There is actually there is hope over this mountain that's in front of you, if that makes sense. And there's an opportunity to try again and do it over. And also decided to take a pause doesn't mean it's over, right? And sometimes the pause is actually healthy.
Yeah.
And I think I wish somebody had told me like, you can stop.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean failure. You can actually stop. And sometimes that positions you to thrive. But in the beginning, if stopping felt like, oh, I'm failing, I'm admitting I couldn't hack this. But it's like, is that really how you want to frame it in your head? Or is there another way to frame this? Is there another benefit to see from this? And I wish somebody had told me it's okay. I had to come to that conclusion on my own, with the help and support of a lot of people. But I wish there was and I wish I actually had more business mentors. And I'm really hoping that's something I can establish in 2022. Because I wish somebody had looked at me and been like, this is not serving you anymore. Yeah. Move on.
Yeah.
Because then I wouldn't have spent so long feeling guilty.
Yeah.
How about yourself though?
I like that a lot. And yeah, the importance of mentorship can never be overstated.
Yeah.
For me, I would say I wish someone had told me that I would say I wish someone had told me that I need to continue to work in the dark as though I was working in the light.
Okay.
Because I think that sometimes when you don't get like a reward straight away, or when it feels like you're going at something for a long time, it feels like you're just spinning wheels, not knowing that that's constantly adding to your portfolio, that's constantly adding to your expertise, or constantly adding to your positioning in the market. And for me, there were many times where I was just like, oh, for goodness sake, I'm doing this, but it's not getting me anywhere. Like, I'm not going back, but I'm not going forward. But showing up every single day matters. Even if it's 1 hour, even if it's half an hour, showing up and riding out is important, because then you'll have that to look back on and that to present in the time that it's really, really necessary. Good. And that, like, for me, being a writer, it was difficult because it's like, I'm showing up every single day. Sometimes there's no audience.
Right.
But you still have to perform as though this is a sellout show.
Yeah.
Because you don't, heaven forbid, you get to a point where it's like you've got a sold out show, but you haven't rehearsed. So for me, it was just the whole, like, I wish someone had reinstated, listen, you need to perform as though you've got a sellout show every single opportunity that you have.
Yeah.
Which is cool because, like, now looking back, it's like, oh, this makes sense. And in terms of like the contacts I've made and the projects I have coming up, had I not done that, certain things would not be in my life right now. Absolutely, 110%. Some things wouldn't be in my life right now. So I wish someone had actually reinstated and been like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine to continue to keep going even when nobody is watching. And
that's
I think
such a good point.
Being like entrepreneurship, being sometimes quite lonely, understanding it does come with the territory, but always show up and perform as though there are millions watching you. It's important.
That's a word, man. It's even like, as a content creator, it can sometimes be hard. And like you were saying about writing, like, people aren't watching, the views are down, okay? But there is something that I saw recently, which I wish I had learned in 2020, actually.
Yeah.
If that video goes viral, then what? You haven't got anything to come back with because it was accidental. Do you get what I mean? But actually, if you keep going and you keep learning more about the system that you're building, and you get to a place where you can actually position yourself to really benefit from these moments of opportunity and these moments of actual, like, eureka, like, it's happened. Do you get what I mean? If you're not positioned when that person comes across your work, if you haven't then posted in a year, whilst they may want to give you an opportunity based on the stuff you did a year or two ago, they don't even know if you're still in the game.
There we go.
You know? So you actually have to keep showing up. And it's not to say keep beating a dead horse in hope that it comes to life.
That phrase kills me, you know?
Yeah, it's not to say that. But it is to say, if you still have, even if you don't have motivation for something, but you have a passion for it, develop the discipline, right? To keep at it. A lot of us wait for these sparks of creativity, these sparks of motivation, and these waves of them. But those things are very, very temporary, don't always stay, and they don't always stick around, and they don't always happen. However, if you tap into discipline, you'll find yourself in a routine, right? And then when those waves of motivation come, that's when you create magic, because you've already got the discipline down. But also, a lot of us are waiting to produce our best stuff, right? I'm not going to write today or this week or when I said I'd put out that video until I've got my best idea. Your best idea probably ain't gonna come now.
Yeah.
You know?
And when it does come, will you execute it well?
Well, because you're so out of whack. Do you get what I mean? And so actually allowing yourself, show up when you need to, even if it's crap, at least you know you've done it, right? And then the next one you'll learn from the crap and you'll perform better. Right? But keep showing up.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I guess to wrap it up,
yeah, man.
starter kit.
Okay.
For the entrepreneurs out there, or budding entrepreneurs. they're interested in making the leap of faith and they're about to go into free fall. What should be in their backpack?
Okay, savings.
Whoa.
Yeah, savings.
Y'all need money.
Money to put into your company, but also money at least 3 months to hold you down whilst you're working on it. Because the reality is, unless you've got mum and dad or some kind of sponsor or investor, you need money to be able to keep going. If you're hungry and you're tired and you're homeless, it's going to be very hard to work on building this amazing company that you have in your mind. So you need the money. So save. Please do have some savings there. Once you have some savings, sit down and really think through your business's plan and your business's model. This is something that I didn't do. And sometimes it felt as though I was just free falling in the air. Just relying on my own talent, which sometimes failed me. And so I think it's important to really sit down and actually have a plan. Really make a business plan. It doesn't have to look like the traditional business plan, but at least have some kind of idea of, this is what I'm trying to execute. And also, more importantly, this is how I'm going to execute it. And have a thought through plan. Make sure it makes sense to you. Ask people, compare it to other business models, do your market research, be in the know, see what is working, what isn't working. A lot of entrepreneurship can be broken down to a science. It's not just throwing things in the air and hoping it can actually be broken down into reading, studying. And that's another thing. Read, listen, study, learn. There's so much information out there that you can use to kickstart this journey that you're about to go on. Don't neglect it. Don't think that you're just going to kind of walk into the dark blind and tap onto, be able to grab something that's worthwhile. It doesn't work that way. Oftentimes you'll end up breaking your leg. So really and truly, you need to lean on and really tap into the existing resources. So take time, make sure you read. Please read what's happening currently in the world. Read books that will help your entrepreneurial journey. Read books that will help your self-development. And if you don't like reading, podcast, audiobook, all the things that are there and exist for you, but learn in whatever way you can. Articles, and then also, like we were saying, entrepreneurship can be lonely. My advice for you in terms of the starter kit, get people you can do this with. It doesn't have to be a co-founder, doesn't have to be a business partner, but have friends who are entrepreneurs. Have network with people who you already know. And you may know them more so casually. And actually now you want to get to know them more entrepreneurially. Take time to actually put yourself out there. Set up your LinkedIn profile. Send people some messages. Send people some emails and be like, hey, could we go for a coffee? Could we have a Zoom call? I'd really love to get to know more about what you're doing and also share with you what I'm doing and just be able to advise each other and support each other through this journey, because the journey of being a starter entrepreneur is really tough. And even if it's just having someone to discuss the mental battle with, that's a lot of support. That's a lot that can take you really, really far and actually prep you to be able to face them and work on that. So that's what I'd say. Savings, a plan, a network.
Woo! I don't even think I have anything to add to that. Literally, really? Savings, a plan, a network. Yay. Yeah. You need that.
You need
also have a little bit of faith.
Oh, a whole bunch of faith. A whole bunch of faith.
A bunch of faith and a dash of daring. Because I think there's certain decisions that you're going to make will require you to have a lot of courage. Yeah. So don't be disheartened. Get a whole bottle of faith and a jug of courage, because what you're trying to do here is something you haven't done before. And it's probably something that not a lot of people have done before. If you are the kind of person that, comes from a similar background, or you do, come from a marginalized community, or even as women, chats, something that, a lot of us have to consciously lean into. Faith and courage is important. And don't think that you can't do it by virtue of any of these identities or virtue of any experiences that you have had. There are folks out here who have literally had no materials, no support, and they have managed to rise above their contemporaries.
Seriously.
That could be you next. And in fact, we hope that it's you next.
One bonus thing as well, sis. The there's going to be a whole bunch of unexpected stuff on this journey. You're not going to have seen a lot of this stuff coming.
Yeah.
Right? That's the truth.
Yeah.
The best way to prepare for the unexpected is to sharpen your character, is to sharpen your mind, and to prepare yourself with as much knowledge as possible, right? So that whatever comes your way, you have something in the archives of your mind, or even in the archives of your network to be able to lean on, to be able to face the challenge that's in front of you, right?
Absolutely.
Don't be discouraged by the fact that things aren't going to plan. That is going to happen. That's the nature of this game, right? But you need to best prepare yourself. And that entrepreneurship it's like preparing for the rainy day that doesn't come.
Yeah. Oh,
but then it comes.
Oh, it does.
Right?
And it always does.
Sometimes that rain is bad and sometimes it's a flood of good things, right? But you need to prepare for it. So even though it hasn't happened now, be prepared. And it's not to say be paranoid. It's to say be prepared. Be prepared.
Preparation is key. Preparation is key.
So key. It's the only way to not become overwhelmed, right? Prepare for as much as you can. The factors that are going to happen that are outside of your control, they're outside of your control, or that you don't know are going to happen, that you don't know they're going to happen. But everything that you can do within your remit and within your control, do it. Show up and do it.
Making sense.
Because you're always going to be stretched, right, as an entrepreneur. So what you don't want is, what can I say? Okay, it's like, for example, if you go on a marathon run and you know the marathon is 10K, right? You're going to train for the 10K. Entrepreneurship is train for the 10K. You go, you run the 10K, then you get to the 10K mark and someone's like, there's another 5, run. Do you know what I mean? The worst thing you can do in that position is to not have even prepared for the 10K in the first place, right? So everything that you can, do everything that you can to prepare for what you know will be required of you. And that will at least allow you the capacity to then handle the unknown. Do you get what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah.
That is so, so true. Oh, foundational. Build your foundation so you can handle the things that are propped on top.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? We're going to stand up.
There you go.
My female bosses stand up.
I feel so sorry for anyone who doesn't understand why we're doing this. The Talisa female boss.
Hey, listen, guys, comment on the YouTube comments if you know exactly what we mean. Talisa female boss. Okay, all right, we're done. But guys, we hope you enjoyed that episode. Comment below. What were your thoughts? Are any of you guys entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs? Do you have any thoughts on entrepreneurship? Should we have more women in entrepreneurship? We want to know, so make sure you comment below. And if you are commenting below, you better have subscribed.
Please hit that subscribe button. You better have
subscribed. If you want to support us, female entrepreneurs, subscribe. So please do. And of course, you can always support us by going up on our Instagrams, IG at @2mysisterhood. And if you'd like to come and support us individually, the lovely lady in the forest green jumper over here, Miss Courtney Daniela at CD Boateng, and of course at Renee Kapuku.
We love to see it. And of course, you can go and tweet us over on Twitter by using the hashtag #ToMySisters and the same handle #ToMySisterhood. And sis, we tell you every week, we're going to soon stop telling you.
Embarrassing.
Sign up to the mailing list. The mailing list, they get all the perks. They get the early drops, the exclusives, all the resources. Please, you guys are in the comment. Oh, we want a book list. We want recommendations. It's on the mailing list. What are you listening to? It's on the mailing list. So definitely sign up to the mailing list because that's where we give all the exclusive Glow and Grow tips. That's where it goes down in the inbox. It goes down in the DMs.
We're
down.
doing so well with the metaphors.
We are. We're good at
it.
We're good at it. We're good at it.
I love this for us. I love it.
Well, sis, we hope that this episode has helped you. We hope that you flourish in everything, all your money making moves, all your boss babe moves. And if entrepreneurship is not for you, don't worry, girl. Don't bite off more than you are willing to chew. Not. It is fine. You are still successful. You can be successful in any sphere that you are in. And we hope that we can support you on that journey.
Yes.
But we will talk to you very soon with another installment of Glow and Grow tips on the My Sisters podcast.
We love it.
We will talk to you very soon. And as always, keep glowing and growing.